Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. We have folks joining from a number of different regions. We have an exciting next up session for you today. I'm going to just close a window here and we are going to get started. Okay, so before we start, I have a quick request. Per usual, we are going to be doing a few different polls through today's session, just curiosities about where you're coming from and what platforms you're using, etc. It really helps us to get to know you as our audience. So we're going to be using Mentimeter to do that. So we have a QR code here on this slide. In addition to that, you can also just go directly to menti.com, use this code 16115828. If you have a chance on your phone right now or on your computer to just have that window open, we're going to just do quick 3 poll questions at some point during our session today. And then also we'll post this QR code and this website and this code on those poll questions as well. Okay, so let's start with what is next up. I know that there are a number of folks, we have a lot of attendees today. I know there are a number of folks who have attended before and have probably found some use and have really loved our Next Up series. For those that are new, Next Up is really meant to be, like you're seeing here, an inside look at software and hardware, whether that be products, bundles, new software updates like today, new features. We want to make sure that we are providing you that information and that we're doing it early. And in addition to that, this is really a time for you as our base, whether it's you're a reseller, whether you are a customer, whether you're an organization, partner that we're working with. This is really your time to interface directly with Logitech's product team in order to get your feedback, to understand where you're coming from, both physically, like we're seeing in the chat right now, as well as in terms of your deployments and devices. And that's super valuable to us. Here at Logitech, our team really takes that feedback seriously, and it does help us to create the roadmaps that we have to decide what features we want to have next. And so whether it's our beta channel, whether it's coming to Next Up, whether it's the wish list on Product Hub, there are a number of different ways that we really want to hear from you. Next Up is an important part of that story. Okay, I know Vivek is on. Vivek, if you want to join us here, our session today is all about CollabOS 1.15. Vivek and his team, Trevor and their team, we have a lot of folks who have worked very hard to bring you the features that you're seeing today. We are going to cover dual site coverage, but that's going to be one of a few things, actually a lot more than a few things that we're going to cover today. There's a lot to cover as part of CollabOS 1.15. I've been saying this at every session. The 1.15 is the biggest CollabOS update that we've had to date. There are a lot of parts to this story. So with that, Vivek, who are you? I'm Craig, part of our product marketing team. Vivek, who are you?
I'm Vivek from the product management team, and working behind the scenes with a whole bunch of our engineering team to be able to deliver a whole bunch of updates for you today.
So when we talk about updates, let's take a look at what we're seeing up here up top. Normally what I do is I list out all the different features. Oh, it's this feature, this feature, this feature. But because there are so many features as part of 1.15, we put them into subgroups. So we're going to talk about some features that are really big general features that are coming to CollabOS 1.15. In addition to that, there are a host of features that are specifically for Microsoft Teams. We also have a number of features that are specific to Google Meet. We've also upgraded and updated our space management portfolio, and we're going to take some questions. And then after that, we actually have a bonus. So really stick around to the end of the session because you're going to like what you hear at the end of the session. We've got a really incredible announcement to make at the end as well. Okay, so let's talk about general features first. But before we do that, we have our first survey question here. So dual sites, who's heard about it? Who's dreamed about it? Who wants it? Or is it something that's new to you? Let's go ahead and use this QR code. Again, you've got menti.com 16115828. And we want to hear your responses here. So who has heard about dual site coverage? Go ahead and start the survey, and then we'll take a look on screen what folks are saying. Johanna, if you're on, do you want to maybe switch the screen so we can see what's on the Mentimeter responses here? I think it's good to just kind of see answers live as people are answering them. Okay, excellent. Excellent. I'm seeing she changed it. I'm not seeing, let me stop my share. See if okay, I can see it here. There we go.
You can see it, yeah.
Okay. this is what we expected. So this is our second session for Next Up here. Um, we had pretty similar responses last night. About 75%, 80% of folks who answered our poll have heard about it. There were a good 15 to 20% who haven't heard about it. If you are part of that fifth who have not heard about it, prepare to be amazed. The ability to do dual sites in larger rooms is really it's the ultimate deployment for rooms like that. That really brings a different experience to people who are remote. And for the 80% of you who have been waiting and who have been dreaming about this for some time now, it's finally here. We're excited to announce it to you. Let me reshare my screen here, and we'll start talking about this. Okay, so dual site coverage. As you're seeing here, what dual site is all about, it's about increasing the amount of cameras that we have in the room, especially these bowling alley style rooms, so that we can have more views in larger rooms. And what do we mean by more views and what do we mean by larger rooms? I'm going to pass that back to Vivek. So Vivek, we have a couple diagrams here. When is it good to use one site? When is it good to use two? What are some of the recommendations here? Let's talk about that right now.
Yeah, when we introduced Sight, Logitech was the first solution for a center of table solution that works also along with the front of rooms solution. So this helped us to be able to provide framing of participants in meeting rooms up to 4 people, and typically in spaces that had 8 to 9 people in that space. So that is where Sight and the Rally Bar came in and offered the first in industry experience with the center of table and front of room solution. Now, those room spaces isn't necessarily always sufficient because we have larger meeting room spaces. And in the case with Sight, where you have 2 sites set up, you can now have more people being framed in that meeting room space of up to 8 people, or in larger meeting room space where you want to track the active conversation with up to 8 people. So based on the platform, which I know, Craig, you will have a few slides coming up next, the experience will be for the remote participants to see these 8 participants in the meeting room being framed by each of the sites, so 4 on each site, and then the Rally Bar or the Rally Bar Mini being able to frame the overall room. Our recommendations is to space them 2.5 meters apart, so that way people who are at the head of the table or the end of the table are also being framed, and as they engage in that conversation, you have that up to 8 people experience available.
Awesome. So let's talk about what the experience looks like. We're going to show a couple of GIFs here to kind of show exactly what we're thinking and what our theory is in terms of how we present people here. But when we look at a room like this, so the example that I'm showing here, we are going to have 8 people sitting around the room. So they're sitting around all the parts of the table here. This room is probably about 20, maybe 25 feet deep. The room typically sits about 10 to 12 people. Now in Vivek's example that he just showed before, there were 3, 6, 9, 12, about 15 people in that room. Right. So Vivek, I know we had a question about this for AP. Maybe we want to comment on that. Recommended room size. I know you mentioned before, but what would you say when you have dual sites? What's kind of our upper limit here?
So the upper limit is, a setup where it goes up to 7 meters from the front of room display or where the bar is located is our best statement that we would have.
So in this particular room, what I want to show first is I want to show what we're used to seeing. When we've got one side in the room, we've got 4 individuals, we've got the room. This is what we've seen before. This is what we're used to. What we're going to do when we have dual sites that are in the room is we're going to do a split. So we're going to take that picture-in-picture that was of the room, and we're going to split that out into a separate tile. So now we've got an individual tile of the people in the room. That's right here, our individuals. And we've got a tile of the entire room. And then what we're going to do after that with the second site is we're going to add another tile here. So now we've got 8 individuals and we've got the room. So you can really see how this is transformative. If I'm sitting remote and I've got 2 sites that are in the room, not only am I getting the context for the room, but I'm getting more participants to be visible. That's really helping me to understand who's in the room, to understand everything from facial expressions to what they're saying, to what their eyebrows look like. If they're like, what? Oh, that makes sense. All of that is going to be more visible to me as a remote participant. And The features that you're used to seeing before are still going to be available. So for example, if there are more than 8 individuals in the room, we're going to replace the last speaker with the most active speaker. Smart switching is also going to still be available for people who are sitting in certain positions, right? So as those people are turning towards the front of the room, again, certain positions of the room, we're going to flip that feed so that you're getting a constant front-facing view of the people in the room. All that's still going to be there, but we're just getting more views. Now, a key call out here for dual sight coverage is that it is going to look, and the camera modes are going to be slightly different depending on what platform you're using. So I want to just show, Vivek and I want to show a couple examples of what that looks like here. So first is, as people remember, 1.14, it was either 1.14 or before, but it was a release before this, we announced that for Zoom Rooms Appliance, we're the first and only OEM to be offering Intelligent Director in appliance mode with Sight and Rally Bar. And with that, we had 2 streams. We had one of the room, again, the context, and then one of the people. Now that you have dual sights, we have that same experience, but we're adding that third one. So you're seeing it here. We've got 2 colleagues here, and the size of each of the different frames or tiles that's being broadcasted by dual sights is appearing here. And because they're separate tiles, they can be moved, they can be mixed, they can be matched, just like we're used to seeing in a Zoom room. But this is the experience you're going to get with Intelligent Director. Now, as we move to the Microsoft side, you're getting something similar, but just slight nuances and slight differences here. So we're still getting those 3 tiles. We're getting the individuals, 8 individuals over 3 tiles, but those 3 tiles are going to be composited. Now, Microsoft Teams, if it recognizes that the stream is coming from a room, when it can, it is going to give size priority to that tile, like we're seeing here. But again, the call out here is that the 3 tiles in Microsoft Teams, that's both Windows and Android, is going to be composited. And then finally, you're going to get a similar experience when you're in a BYOD experience as well. So you're going to get those 3 tiles. They're going to be composited. And you can see, again, it's a little bit of a size difference between our 2 individuals here. So depending on the space you're in, again, camera mode is going to be a little bit different based on the platform you're on, the mode that you're in. And it's really important that when this gets posted and when we go live with this, that you be sure to check out our guide for this. So when we decide, when we finally go general available, check out the guide to make sure that for your particular platform and your solution set and deployment, that you're doing the right camera mode and that you're understanding the experience you're going to get. Vivek, anything else about dual sight coverage before we move on here?
No, I mean, I do have one thing just to reiterate is the BYOD mode. So, a few folks in the Q&A and chat have been bringing up, hey, what about Google Meet and those kind of things. So definitely, we have some more slides later on to talk about Google Meet. But that said, if you have a Chrome OS based deployment, you can leverage the BYOD kind of experience. So Meet on Chrome OS will also be able to leverage this feature set.
Excellent. So exciting stuff. It's dual sight coverage. You can see exactly how this is transformative to rooms that are extra large. And now what we're going to do next is I'm going to move to improvements to RightSound 2. Now, what I want to do here real quick, and I apologize for this for folks on the call, I'm going to stop my share and I'm going to reshare because I need to share sound, and that option was not available to me when I was sharing before. Okay, let me start the share over one more time to make sure that we can. All right. Okay, so we have made some significant improvements to our RightSound 2 technology. Now, what that means is that the algorithms that we have are going to do several things. Number one, what RightSound 2 is going to do is do what we call voice equalization. So if Vivek and I are sitting at different places in the room or different seats, even though one may be sitting further back than the other, it's going to level out our volumes. In addition to that, it's also going to do noise reduction so that if Vivek and I are using laptops or clicky mice, it's going to look to remove that noise as well. And the third thing, and perhaps the most remarkable thing, is that it's going to also do echo reduction or reverb reduction. So this is a really big thing. As we speak, it's going to look for redundant vocal patterns, and it's going to remove those so that our voice is going to come through crystal clear. Now, again, that's what the RightSound algorithm does, and we've made improvements to that. Now, what I'm going to need to do is, Vivek, when we get to Q&A a little bit later, I'm going to have to work with some of our technical backend folks because my share sound was not available to me when I shared here. So I'm actually going to skip those slides, and we're going to come back to it at a later part of the presentation, hoping that we can work out sound sharing. So I'm going to skip this part. Again, stop my share one more time just to kind of, I don't want to show off any stuff that we're not quite ready to show. And I'm going to share again, but we're going to come back to this at the end of the session. So Vivek, in addition to that, another general feature that we're releasing with CollabOS 1.15 is custom APIs. Yeah. So we have a lot of folks who want to build customized solutions, and APIs are a big part of that story. So Vivek, talk us through what APIs mean for all of our people.
With the availability of CollabOS 1.15, we are going to be making available 2 API options. So 2 ways for our folks in the call and their organizations to be able to leverage the data on our devices. We have the CollabOS API, which will be free and allow for a direct communication to each of the individual devices. So you can get a sense of the overall device utilization, the peripherals and accessories connected to it, and information like occupancy, count, and so on. So that is one option that will be available with CollabOS 1.15. On top of it, we are also opening up our Sync Cloud APIs, where for a lot of our organizations that use Sync, they're able to get the overall estate, their org structure, and also the data points of their individual devices in these meeting rooms to be able to create and work with their in-house based tools, whether it's Power BI or other solutions. You'd be able to integrate with them and create customized dashboards. So again, with 1.15, there are 2 options that will be available. One that is direct to the device, and the other through the cloud through Sync. Both of them are also already ready and available in beta today, and it will be available in GA pretty soon.
So one of the things that I always like to say is when you think about Logitech, you think about everything from the device portfolio that we have to now the way that you manage devices, flexibility is very, very, very important. This is really one of the key callouts and one of the things that we love when we talk about the breadth of our portfolio. The ability to now, in addition to Sync, in addition to any of our partner platforms, be able to use APIs, whether that be Sync with the cloud or CollabOS locally, the ability to do that is now offering just more options for you to be able to work in a way that works for you, right, Vivek? And so I think that's really the big call out, is that adding APIs, it's about custom solutions, but it's about increasing that level of flexibility so that Logitech partnering with you can make you do what you do best even better. So really, really, really key call out. Okay, want to thank Scott in our chat today. I'm going to do this, folks, one more time here, because we have some really cool stuff to show off. And I'm going to stop the share. Apologize for kind of the back and forth. I'm sure it's a little bit jarring. Sound is available. It is exciting here. And I'm going to do our RightSound 2 demo as it was meant to be done. So here we go. So like I talked about before, we talked about the sound algorithms for RightSound 2. But what I'm going to do in the next slide, and the reason why I wanted to share sound, is we're going to do a sound comparison. So let me just cue this up for you. What we did is we took 2 bars. We took a Logitech bar and we compared it to a large conference room bar from one of our competitors. I'm not going to name that competitor here, but it's a large conference bar, several thousands of dollars. It's a thing for a room that's about 20 to 25 feet. And in fact, if you're seeing a lot of my videos, we use this same room. There's only one of these rooms that we have down in Irvine that's 20 to 25 feet, but we're going to do this test in that room. I'm going to be sitting close to the device. I'm going to be sitting farther. And again, you're going to listen to a comparison between this competitive bar for large rooms and our Logitech bar. So let's have a listen. Okay, so we're going to do our first test here. I'm sitting about 3 feet from the cameras. I'm facing forward and I'm wearing a white shirt, tan pants, and brown shoes. Okay, so we're going to do our first test here. I'm sitting about 3 feet from the cameras. I'm facing forward and I'm wearing a white shirt, tan pants, and brown shoes. Okay, now I'm facing towards the back. I'm still 3 feet from the cameras and I'm wearing a white shirt, tan pants, and brown shoes. Okay, now I'm facing towards the back. I'm still 3 feet from the cameras and I'm wearing a white shirt, tan pants, and brown shoes. Okay, now I'm about 8 feet from the camera. I'm facing forward and I'm wearing a white shirt, tan pants, and brown shoes. Okay, now I'm about 8 feet from the camera. I'm facing forward and I'm wearing a white shirt, tan pants, and brown shoes. Okay. So there's 3 callouts here. The first callout is when I'm sitting close. I'm probably sitting no more than 2.5 feet, 3 feet max from the camera. And you can still tell, and I'm seeing a lot of hearts right? Seeing a lot of emojis here. You can still tell there's a major difference between the sound quality of our competitive bar versus the Logitech bar. And then as I turn to the back, which is a case that happens all the time. If Vivek is sitting in the front of the room and I'm sitting in the back and I make a comment and Vivek wants to talk to me, there are going to be times where his face and his mouth is going to turn away from the microphone set and is going to talk to me in the back of the room. You can then at that point see there's even a bigger differential between the voice that's in the competitive bar versus the voice that's in the Logitech bar. And then when we move, say, 10 feet, 15 feet back, that's where we really start to see more echo and reverb in the competitive bar, but clear vocal audio that's coming from the Logitech bar. And so this is the power of RightSound too. And that's we talked about reverb reduction. You're hearing it here direct. But here's the kicker. If I go to this next slide, it's intentionally white because I want to show you exactly what bar we used. I had told you that we're comparing a Logitech video bar to a large room, conference room device or video bar from a competitor, but I never told you which Logitech bar we were using. I was actually using a Meetup 2 in that particular scenario to compare it to a device that was probably about 5 times or 6 times the price of Meetup 2. And that is the point, is that RightSound 2, these algorithms, this software, the work that Vivek and the engineering team have put into this, they're embedded within all of our bars, whether it's Rally Bar Mini, Rally Bar Huddle, or Meetup 2, small to big devices. This is the power of what we bring from an audio standpoint to rooms. Being able to clearly hear the person as if they're almost sitting next to the microphone in a room is what you get from software when it comes to our bars. It's not just enough to have microphones that are in the system. We need to be able to do things with those microphones with our software so that vocals come through clear. Cool. So I'm so glad we were able to do that demo. We've already talked about APIs. Vivek, anything else about general features before we move on to Microsoft Teams here?
No, let's move on to Microsoft Teams. I think we have more updates there and a few other callouts.
So with Microsoft Teams, I want to start with a bit of a story here. We've had a great journey with Microsoft, starting with this mouse that looks super old because this is where we started. When it came to mice, Logitech, Microsoft has had an early partnership together. And since then, we've had a number of firsts. As you're seeing from this, we've had our first Windows Hello webcam with Brio 4K, which is still on the market now, all the way down to our first certified center of table camera, our front and center solution with Logitech Sight that happened as well. So a number of different firsts, a number of different developments that we've had with Microsoft. And now as we look to 2024 and 2025, it's really become about enabling the AI-powered workspace, whether that's at home, whether that's at a flex desk in the office, or whether that's in the conference room. And when we think about the conference room, there have been a number of updates and feature sets that we've worked very closely with on Microsoft to pioneer to make the conference room better. And so I want to talk a bit about a few of those before talking about the first feature. So when it came to Microsoft Teams rooms on Windows first, when it came to Microsoft Teams rooms, we first brought speaker recognition. This is one of the first really big AI features that we brought to Teams rooms, where if Vivek and I are sitting in the same room and we're having a conversation with each other, we want to make sure that the dialogue is attributed to the right person who is in the room. And that is speaker recognition. It can recognize the speaker, and you're seeing from the transcript on the right, it's a little bit fuzzy, but you're seeing it on the right that even though Rishi is speaking and he's in the room, we're able to attribute that dialogue to him as a person. And then from there, as part of our last CollabOS release, we announced multi-stream for Teams rooms on Windows, where we're able to get a total of 5 streams. So we have 4 of the individuals, 1 of the room, and that also was beginning to allow some curation and flexibility for remote users to control their experience. And I'll show that in just a second. But the call out here is that Logitech was also the first OEM and only right now to offer a total of 5 streams with the multi-stream experience. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4 of the people, and then 1 of the room. Now, when it comes to curation, what this also meant was that users could toggle this room view on and off. And again, that's allowing for users to have some control because the room is a separate stream that can be toggled on and off. And if you remember during 1.14, we also talked about how multi-stream is going to pave the way for additional features like people recognition, which we're announcing today. So today we are introducing people recognition. We have speaker recognition, multi-stream, people recognition now. Now, what is people recognition? It's these name tags here. It's the ability in a Teams room to take each of those streams that I just talked about and put a name tag on them. So you're saying, I'm here, it says Craig Ishii right here. It's able to recognize my face. Now, we do have a number of, I'm sure people will ask about this. So Vivek and I will talk about what registration needs to be done by users, what settings need to be done on the back end for teams, because we do know security is an issue for organizations and everyone else that's using a Teams room. But the feature itself looks like this. You've got the streams of the people. You can also tag with name tags in that. Now, the call out here is that this is currently available for Microsoft Teams rooms on Windows, but as part of CollabOS 1.15, all these AI features that we're talking about, this journey that we've taken with Microsoft to enable AI enhanced features in conference rooms, we are now also starting to bring those over to Microsoft Teams rooms on Android as well. And one of the first things we're bringing is speaker recognition. So I use the same exact GIF here because the feature set is the same, but the ability to attribute the dialogue to the right person, we're now bringing that over to MTROA. Okay, next. This is a feature that has been wanted and requested for some time. It's a big one, and it is PTZ controls for Microsoft Teams rooms on Android. It is the ability in manual camera mode to be able to control the pan, the tilt, the zoom. You're seeing it right here. There's not much to explain because it's pretty easy, but I'm seeing a lot of emojis because I know that this is something that people have been wanting for years at this point, and we're excited to announce it as part of this release. Okay, next. We announced as part of CollabOS 1.14 that we were bringing official support for HDMI ingest to Zoom rooms. As part of CollabOS 1.15, we're officially bringing HDMI ingest to Microsoft Teams rooms on Android, like you're seeing here. And what does that mean? You're seeing the tap device. You can use the HDMI port on the back of the tap device to plug in an HDMI cable, run that to the table, and now your users with laptops can be able to plug in and share both audio and video from their computer. Now, what's great about this, again, is that it's just offering another option, another flexible option for you to be able to allow and enable screen sharing for your people. Okay, now, another one, the last one here, a big announcement by Microsoft is that they've come out with facilitator agents. So even for myself, this is something that I remember them announcing at Ignite in 2024. And it's this idea of having an AI agent be in the room with you to help you silently take notes, assign tasks, etc. And it works remarkably well. So my colleague and I, Jordan and I, and our other colleague, June, we've tested this where we've sat in the room, we've had a meeting before, and usually takes 4 to 5 minutes where it's gathering information. And then it begins to then populate the notes section with, here's what was said. Here are some of the takeaway items. We're excited to announce that Facilitator Agent or Facilitator is now also available for Teams rooms on Android as part of the CollabOS 1.15 release. Now, please note that Facilitator itself is still in preview mode for Microsoft, and there are a number of licensing things that we need to keep in mind, but it is here. So Vivek, Facilitator, Microsoft, what else do we want to comment here on before we move on?
The quick call out again is the tap HDMI ingest, because I've seen a bunch of Q&A and comments coming in that the tap HDMI ingest supports both content sharing of both audio and the content. So that's a big call out here, and it's now officially supported with CollabOS 1.15. And then going back to setup and license requirements between facilitator agent and also the multi-stream and people recognition, Microsoft does have a handy guide for each one of these feature sets on different licenses that are required as a prerequisite to be able to set it up, and also the process to enroll the voice and the facial data for the recognition to work. So we recommend that you check out the guides that we posted that links to a lot of the Microsoft information on this.
So updates for Microsoft Teams, but we also promised that there were updates for Google Meet as well. So for those folks who are working with people or working yourself with Google Meet rooms, 3 important updates here. First is HDMI ingest. And where we're going to start is we're going to start with HDMI ingest backup device. So Google Meet rooms can now use, you're seeing here the HDMI in port here on the back of the rally bar, can now use this to first share video, audio is coming soon, and then tap HDMI ingest also coming soon. So we're starting with backup device, but again, providing more options for users to be able to share and plug in to their laptops and share. Second is framing by Logitech. So Sight 2 camera mode support. So as folks know, there is an option in Google Meet rooms to use what's called framing by Logitech, which means that the administrator can set the view mode or camera mode, whether it's speaker view, room view, or grid view. And then the user, when selecting that option, has the ability to use that camera mode. We now have the ability to set that as the default camera mode so that as people sit in the room, you can see the toggle is set to be on. Now that framing by Logitech camera mode will be the default view for people who step into the room. And third, and this is really a big announcement, and we're going to talk about why this is here in a second, but Sight, Logitech Sight, is now certified for Google Meet on Android as part of CollabOS 1.15, and we're looking forward to it being certified for Chrome OS a little bit later this year. But why this is an important announcement is that when we think about all three platforms, whether that be Microsoft Teams, Zoom, or Google Meet, Sight is now certified on all three platforms. And so the call out here is that Sight is the first and only front and center certified solution for all three of these platforms. And it's really exciting stuff because what that means is regardless of what platform you sit on, regardless of what experience, or I guess platform, sorry, I have to rewind that. Regardless of what platform you're sitting on, you're going to be able to provide this amazing experience to people. So if you're a reseller, you're going to provide that amazing experience to organizations that you're working with. If you're an organization, you're going to provide that amazing experience to the users and the employees that you have. It's really, really, really special that the certification exists there because it's also saying that our partners and our platforms are acknowledging that special experience. Vivek, anything else we want to say about Google Meet or certifications here?
No, I mean, as you just called out, between all three of these platform providers, Logitech, Rallybar, and Sight is the first in the category to have the front of room and the tabletop experience, so people get framed accordingly.
Okay, now on that note, I do have a question for everyone here. Which platform you're currently using? So we've got our QR code, we've got menti.com 161158228. We want to see what you have to say. So let's take a look. Okay, so typical to what we usually see, a good number of Microsoft Teams users, right, Vivek? This is kind of always the super majority of folks here. But I think what the poll is showing us is that we really are platform. There are folks who are using platforms all the way across. And so with each CollabOS update where we're bringing updates for different platforms, we are keeping in mind that all of our users have different preferences. And again, it really goes back to that note about being comprehensive and being flexible. Vivek, what else are we seeing here?
No, actually, it's the trend line kind of matches what we would expect. I'm surprised the other is 0 though. In the call earlier on the Next Up series, we did have a few folks who are interested in the other category.
It's true. It's true. Okay, so it seems like our responses have slowed down a bit here. So about 70% Teams, about 20% Zoom, about 10% Google Meet. So this is great news for folks who are Google Meet. We made some really important announcements here on how your ecosystem is improving. For the 70% for Teams, we've made some important announcements about how your platform is getting better as well. And for Zoom, things like Intelligent Director, dual sites, your platform and the work with Logitech is also getting better as well. So a lot of really great stuff. Now, the last piece that we're going to talk about before we take a little break and answer some questions live is we want to talk about some of the improvements that we've made to our space management portfolio. Now, just as a quick review, Logitech has a solution set offering room and desk booking, as well as a number of different features associated with that kind of core. And so I'm going to talk about some of the improvements that we've made here. So we have Trevor's team. Reed Allen is also part of that team. Had a lot of conversations with them about, well, what was the intent around what we were trying to do here? And one of the first ones was we want to create a consistent experience between how and when people book rooms and go to those rooms to how and when people go to and use desks, right? So if I'm walking to a desk and wanting to book, if I'm walking to a room and wanting to book, or I'm walking to either one and seeing what is booked, we want to make a consistent experience. So one of the first things that we did as part of 1.15 is we've actually refreshed the look of the UI on Logitech Flex to create consistency between what's on Logitech Flex and what's on Tap Scheduler. So users are going to love that. And in addition to that, we also wanted to give more options for administrators as well. So the idea of these backgrounds that are appearing both when people plug in as well as you're seeing behind the screen here. You're going to now be able to, as an administrator, upload those backgrounds. All of this is managed in sync, and offer more custom backgrounds for people to be able to see when they plug in. So again, going back to this slide, on the side, we're plugging in, and now you can see one of those custom backgrounds is now being seen on the device. Now, in addition to that, and we talked about this at the beginning of the session, your feedback is incredibly important. We received a lot of feedback that both on Logitech View as well as on Tap Scheduler devices, we needed to be able to display for rooms that maybe didn't have calendar resources attached. Some examples of that are the kitchen or the lounge. Like, we don't really want people booking the kitchen. I mean, you can in some cases if there's like a special event, but generally speaking, Vivek does not walk into the office and say, oh, I have a meeting with Craig, let me book the kitchen. But we may still want to use Tap Scheduler to designate that this is the kitchen, right? On Logitech View, we may still want to have a space that's designating that's the kitchen. And so we can now apply room labels for non-calendar spaces. And in addition to that, we also want to make sure that things like Logitech View can be further customized for certain companies. So I have this fake company here, Hunter, which is showing that you have the ability on Logitech View to now put a custom logo. And of course, you do that just like everything else in Logitech Sync. Okay, Vivek, there were already some questions, of course, as we expected, about availability. So let's talk about that for a second here.
Yeah, so CollabOS 1.15 is available now in beta. You can use the sync update channels to be able to self-serve any of your room devices to get this update today. So you can already start trying it out. So CollabOS 1.15 is available. As part of that beta, right, we are expecting that you'll share feedback on how their experience is, and we are expecting that by early August, we will release this as a generally available update for all devices. So again, a reminder, 1.15 is available today in beta, and you can use the sync update channels to start trying it out. Share your feedback with us, and any refinements we'll be able to make, we'll do that. And based on that feedback, early August is when we'll release it to GA.
All right, let's answer some questions. Let's maybe spend a good 10 minutes here answering some questions.
You don't want to show that one slide before we start answering the questions?
No.
Yeah, let's take a handful of questions. I think availability was definitely one of them, and we've answered it. There were a couple of questions. So sorry, folks, if I'm merging a bunch of questions into one. Do drop any note if your question is not getting answered. There was a question about dual site support and rooms that might be a few feet longer than what we'd recommended. And how would the dual site work in that? So our recommendations are based on a lot of early preview testing that we've had with a handful of our customers and organizations, like folks who are on the call today, and also a lot of internal testing. So the 2.5 meter recommendation between these devices is to have that seamless in-room and remote participant experience. If you have rooms that are slightly larger and people are seated in slightly different configurations, we would recommend that you try it out and share your feedback with us. In some cases, we've seen that it works as well. In some cases, based on how people are seated, it might not be an ideal experience. So try it out and let us know how that deployment looks like for you, and we'll be happy to look into any improvements we can do there.
There are some questions about, let's see. So there were some questions about boundaries, camera zones with Sight. I know we don't have answers for it, but you want to speak to that?
Yeah, I'll start off with stay tuned to the Next Up series and the Product Hub, and definitely drop it as a wish list. That said, there are areas that we are exploring related to camera zones with Sight, and we'll have further updates to share as we get closer to it.
What other questions are you seeing here, Vivek?
I'll just give a question that's completely slightly off topic. What camera and mic are you using, Craig?
I am using our Yeti GX Pro, Yeti GX, the USB Yeti GX Pro as my microphone. And I have it positioned on the Yeti mount too, so it's able to be closer to my face here, so you can kind of see like that. So I try to keep it a little bit off camera. Sometimes I like to have it peak a little bit so people know that there's a microphone system here. But that's it. You can also have settings. So I have equalizer settings set so that my voice, it's just a little bit lower. It comes off a little bit more like a radio voice. Okay, I do have a question. I have a simple question here around dual sights, if you want to answer this. So there are two sights, and we also know that Sight has microphones built into it as well. Question was, if you're using dual sights, am I also getting dual microphones as well?
Yes. So when you're using dual sight, you are leveraging also the microphones on the top of the sight to have that expanded coverage for audio. In addition, I think there were a couple of other questions related to, hey, can I still connect a mic port to it? So you can connect an additional mic port to the Sight 2, which is the furthest from the front of room solution, and have an extended audio coverage if required. So that is still possible. But again, correct to your point, and for folks in the call, the two sites already provides that extended audio coverage also with the microphones built into it.
Now, another question here, because this is something that we didn't talk about, and even I had this curiosity when positioning dual sights or deploying dual sights in a room. Different camera modes, right? We also have two sights. The question came up, okay, so when I'm in speaker view, and is like, am I showing one? Can you talk a little bit about how different camera modes work when there are two sights in the room?
Yeah. So for two sites in the room, and I think one of the Q&A was, hey, is everyone going to get framed? So with two sites in the room, and what we have made available with CollabOS 1.15 is, up to 8 participants get framed. This is possible through the selection of grid view in our sync camera options, or if you're using composite view in Teams or the intelligent director experience on Zoom. So you'll be able to leverage that to be able to get the up to 8 participants. In that setup, the first site will still continue to do the smart switching, and the second site will actually pick the people at the head of the table accordingly. If you want just the speaker focus aspect of it in Zoom rooms or active speaker tracking in Teams, then you can change the mode to speaker view, and you'll be able to leverage the first site for actively tracking the up to 4 participants who are engaged in a conversation in that meeting room. At a later date, we will be expanding support for the dual site to also work in the speaker view mode. So stay tuned. We'll keep everyone updated as that feature becomes available.
See, what else are we seeing here? There is a question about Rallyboard 65. We didn't talk about that today, but a question around when will Rallyboard 65 get Teams rooms on Windows? We want to speak to the timeline on that at all?
I'll just say, we're looking at it actively, and sometime this year is something that we might be able to achieve. But stay tuned, folks. These are things that we work in collaboration with the Microsoft partnership. So timelines might vary as we go for it.
I do want to answer this question that came about multi-camera. And it's related to Sight, related to dual sight, but not at the same time. So I'm going to just give a general answer to multi-camera because we talked about this during the AP session as well. So when you have a bowling alley style room, Sight is really a great solution for that. And you saw exactly why. You can put that in the middle of the table. It pairs with the Rally Bar Mini at the front of the room, and you're getting this front and center experience. As that bowling alley style room gets larger, dual sights work perfectly because, again, we just extend sight coverage by daisy chaining it and adding another sight to the back of the room. But as we start to get to different types of rooms, modular rooms where tables and chairs are on wheels, right, or U-shaped rooms or classroom style rooms, that's really where the power and the flexibility, we keep using this phrase, of Logitech's portfolio come into play. So as folks saw in our previous session, we announced Rally Camera with Rally Camera Streamline Kit. That's the ability to use 2 control boxes and then use a category cable in between to connect Rally cameras into your system. And as we know, Zoom and Microsoft Teams offer solutions to allow for multiple cameras to stream at the same time. We also announced that, of course, Rallyboard 65 comes with a cart where you can even flip the board besides just moving it around, so you can have the camera above or below. And we've released some videos on that as well, where you can kind of show the different use cases. But when you think about those modular rooms where all the stuff is on tables and chairs. You can then have another solution where you're moving that board around depending on what type of meeting you're having. So again, we really encourage you to get creative with the portfolio because again, there are a lot of different use cases where you can mix and match the devices that we have. Be sure to check compatibility before you do that, right? But again, the comprehensiveness and the flexibility of the portfolio is an important consideration because dual sites is just one of the approaches that we have to rooms as they begin to get larger. So just wanted to kind of point that out because there were a couple questions about multi-camera systems.
Yep.
All right, Vivek, what else are you seeing here? Maybe about 5 more minutes before we move on.
I was actually thinking let's jump on to the next topic because that will also fill up our Q&A quite a bit.
All right, and we will get to questions again at the end. If we have to stay over and answer some questions and folks are willing to stay on, we're happy to do that as well because we want these sessions to be, as interactive and feedback heavy as possible. So let me go back to our screen share here. And what I want to do before we talk about our bonus announcement, I had promised that we had an exciting bonus announcement at the end, is talk about a few things in terms of stuff that we've released before, but we want to make sure that it's a call out for you in case you missed it. First is in between CollabOS 1.14 and 1.15, we released 1.14b, and that was all about AOSP device management. Now, why this is important and why we're doing a call out here on today's call is because if you are a Teams Room on Android user, and it looked like about 70% of you or 69% or 60, many of you are Teams users, and many of you are probably going to be MTROA users, AOSP device management is going to be a very, very important consideration. So Vivek, let's talk about this.
Yeah, so we made CollabOS 1.14b available a few weeks back, and now it's generally available through Teams Admin Center, through Logitech Sync, and different options. Quick call out is definitely follow the guides that we and Microsoft have published about this migration. This is where the Microsoft Teams Rooms on Android is migrating from the Google-based administrator solution to an Intune-based device management solution. So this is necessary for upcoming updates and features and bug fixes that will be rolling out. So us as Logitech and in our partnership with Microsoft, we are asking all customers to update to this release. But a precursor before you hit update is to make sure, as you follow our guides, your Intune administrators or folks in this call, make sure it is in compliance. So that way the policies work with your meeting room solutions. This will make the upgrade a seamless process. So you do not have to worry about any sign-outs or any other mishaps. That said, a big call out here is the fact that, once these upgrades kick in and everything in your Intune policy are compliant, then you do not have anything to worry about. So just focus on getting the guides read through and the policy set up accordingly.
And we have another piece of the story for AOSP as well.
Yes. So we made the AOSP migration available for all our solutions except for the Rally Board 65 with the CollabOS 1.14b. That said, for the Rally Board 65, the current beta that we rolled out with CollabOS 2.0 is available in beta now, and you can start migrating your Rally boards also to this AOSP device management solution, which we also expect to be fully available in August. So customers of Rally Board 65 or organizations that are using Rally Board 65, please do lean into that.
So we've really tried our best to do a full court press on this. We've wanted to make sure that our Microsoft users have gotten notified about 1.14b. We're announcing it here at Next Up. We've published blogs about this. There are guides, very clear guides about this on Product Hub as well. And those guides link to other Microsoft Teams guides as well. But this is very, very, very important. So worth a call out here. Wanted to shout it out. Okay, next. Another important call out is that Trevor and his team, we saw this in one of our previous Next Up sessions, have been working very hard to bring some really big features to Sync. One of them being license management. So that is the ability to have your contracts and assign licenses to rooms directly from Sync. So really great feature. And in addition to that, people have also loved the fact that you can now open support tickets through Sync as well. Now, why this is special is for several reasons. So one of the things that I love to do is I love to be able to do both my monitoring and management through Sync. So I can see the green, the red, the blue, the orange dots In addition to that, I can use some of the tools like remote UI access for certain devices that are CollabOS network devices if I need to. But if all else fails and I still need to do some troubleshooting and I can't quite figure it out, being able to also use Sync to open up a service ticket directly from the same browser window is great. And in addition to that, as I open up that ticket, and you're seeing it here, it also means that we have the ability to auto-populate fields, which makes that process super fast and super easy. So when I open it up from the room, Sync already knows what devices I have in the room. Sync already knows the serial numbers of those devices. Sync already knows the platform. It's very, very, very fast to open up those tickets. And then I can also see all the tickets together in an aggregate view within Sync as well. So really, really fantastic stuff. Now, what I want to do, because this is a question that we are very much curious on, is we've had this feature. How many people have tried doing this? If you haven't, we really encourage you to do this. But Mentimeter.com or Menti.com 16115828. Let's take a look at what people are saying here. We want to see if folks have. This is consistent with what we saw at our first session, that some of you, a third of you have tried this out. Vivek was excited about the fact that there are a good 70% of the people here who will be astounded by this new feature set when they try it out, hopefully right after this session. One of the things that I'm hoping that I might see here is I'm hoping maybe these percentages shift last minute as people go to Sync right now and decide to open up a ticket. But this is very important. We really encourage the 65% of you who have not tried it out yet or do not have a Sync account yet to really test out the feature set. With Sync, you're going to get a lot of things. As I talked about before, you're going to have some advanced monitoring and management features. So one of the big ones is remote UI access for CollabOS network devices. So all those folks who are Microsoft Teams rooms on Android, Zoom appliance users, right? The ability to, Google Meet on Android, the ability to be able to get hands-on with your device from your browser without having to actually walk over to the room is extremely powerful. The ability to look at insights in Sync that are not just about meeting length or call quality, but truly understanding how the rooms are being used, including when your video conference equipment is on or off, really gives you a full sense of how is this room being used, and as I'm making decisions even about office size, etc., you're having all this data to really help you with that decision making. And then now, the ability to do service license contract management, right, as well as opening support tickets through Sync. It's just another really big feature that's making this whole thing super big and super helpful for folks as they manage their deployments. Cool. All right, so let's go back and finally let's talk about the big exciting announcement here, kind of as a bonus for today's session. So Vivek, CollabOS 2.0. We've talked about Android 12 for some time. What are we talking about here? What are we talking about with CollabOS 2.0?
Yeah, so today's next up session has been focused on CollabOS 1.15, right? And all our current devices like the Rally Bar, Mini, Roommate, Tap IP, and Tap Scheduler have been running CollabOS 1.0 versions. In the coming month, we are going to be upgrading these devices to CollabOS 2.0. And what that means is CollabOS 2.0 is going to be leveraging or based on Android 12. And it will allow us to be able to extend the functionality of these devices for a longer time period, along with assuring that it gets bug fixes, feature releases, and overall increases the longevity of these devices. And if you don't mind going to the next slide, Craig, there, this is set up to be able to be helpful from a certification perspective for Teams rooms on Android and for Zoom rooms. So customers get additional years of certified state of this device for these devices. Quick call out, availability of CollabOS 2.0 starts off later this month. So late July, we will start early access where we will start slowly enrolling organizations to be able to start trying it out. And it will go for a wider public preview availability in August this year. So again, there are a couple of slides coming in on how you can start being part of this early preview access and for public preview. So, keep on the lookout as we start enrolling people who start registering for this. Another quick reminder, with this upgrade of CollabOS 2.0, we will be recertifying these devices with both Teams and Zoom. And that will overall add more years for the certified and supported states of these devices.
Okay, Vivek, when I looked at the slide previously, I saw Rally Bar Mini, I saw Rally Bar. I did not see Rally Bar Huddle. Let's talk about that for a second here.
Yeah, so with Rally Bar Huddle, as our engineering team looked into upgrading our systems to CollabOS 2.0, we were able to push the boundary there with the Rally Bar Huddle to go all the way up to Android 15. So what we will be doing later next year is upgrading Rally Bar Huddle to Android 15. So that way, you're able to get 3 more version bump ups from the current version that we are upgrading to. So this is something that Rally Bar Huddle, thanks to our engineering team and the work they've been doing, we are able to push that out to Android 15.
Okay, now, as we always promise, as part of Next Up, you get early access, you get notified early. As part of that promise with CollabOS 2.0, we have this QR code. Vivek, let's talk about what early signup looks like.
Yeah, so as part of the early sign up process, we do request from folks who are signing up that you provide us your device serial number information, and also are agreeing to the fact that this is an early access, so you're not doing this in your production rooms. So you have dedicated devices that you're able to test out, the CollabOS 2.0 release. Once you enroll or once you've provided us the serial number, in the coming weeks, we will start, getting emails out to these folks that the device is set up to receive the update. Quick reminder: once you do upgrade to CollabOS 2.0, there are no downgrade paths. So every subsequent release, you'll be able to update, but just be mindful of not doing this in production rooms.
So, CollabOS 2.0, super exciting stuff. Early access here. Stay tuned to it. There will probably be, actually not probably, there will definitely be a Next Up session where we talk all about 2.0 in the near future. So something to be excited about. Okay, now, before we close out here, we want to just make a couple notes about compatibility. This is important. And we've got 3 minutes before we hit 9 o'clock, so I want to do this quickly. Vivek, can we just quickly go down the lines here very, very, very quickly, just to make sure that folks are comfortable with what they're seeing in terms of compatibility?
Yeah, so dual site support is going to be available across the board, also for BYOD. So if you are using, any other service providers and a standard BYOD extend or switch kind of solution, you can have dual site support available through that. People recognition is on Teams Rooms on Windows. So along with the multi-stream functionality that was available in 1.14, you will be able to get that feature set available. PTZ controls has been in preview for Teams Rooms on Windows. So that's why it has its lighter shade of green here. But pending Microsoft's release overall, it'll be at a later stage. For Teams Rooms on Android, it is available with 1.15. Tap HDMI ingest with audio support for Teams Rooms on Android is as part of this 1.15 release. Facilitator agent is available on both the Teams Room solutions. APIs, with the exception of Google Meet on Chrome OS, if you have a network connected device, you'll be able to use either CollabOS APIs or the Sync APIs. Right side to camera mode. So this is a big feature that we talked about in the earlier slides. It's available with Google Meet on Android now with CollabOS 1.15, and it'll be coming soon to Chrome OS on it. Last of it is, again, going back to content sharing through HDMI ingest for Google Meet on Android is available. Audio support is coming soon, along with also tap HDMI ingest at a later stage.
Awesome. Okay, last couple notes here. As we move GA for CollabOS 1.15, there will be a lot of stuff posted on Product Hub. In the meantime, for those subscribed to our beta channel, you will receive emails that go to a special beta support site that's going to give you important information. But as we get closer to GA, Product Hub is always your place to go, right? So articles, that's where we post new stuff, guides, a lot of stuff about everything from not intelligent director, from dual sites to AOSP, etc., is going to be posted here as well. We also have a wish list, which we love because we're able to hear from you about what features you want, and you can upvote features that you're seeing. And then new, as you're seeing, we've even posted next up events here. We do have an event section so that we can announce about things that are both local in different regions, as well as things that are global, like next up.
Yep.
Finally, I do have,
Greg,
go ahead.
if you don't mind, I'll just do a quick plug for CollabOS 1.15 again. It is in beta now. And for documentation and release notes, that will be posted in Hub as we go to GA. But if you do like to get access to the beta releases, reach out to CollabOS-beta at logitech.com. It is posted in a different site during the beta stages. So you'll be able to get documentation for all the features we talked about today there, along with release notes. And once it GAs, it'll be available on Product Hub.
Excellent. A couple of events that are coming up. We do have 2 events that are North America specific. We do have a Talk Techie to Me session that's coming up about Logitech Spot at the end of July. So if folks remember, Spot is our presence detecting and environmental sensor device that you can put in rooms and across the office. And a local show, this is in person, that we're having both Chicago, Dallas. We do have this Logitech Microsoft event as well. And both of these are posted on the event section on Product Hub. So take a look. And then finally, for us, our next up session, we want to talk about space management. We had a few updates that we talked about today with CollabOS 1.15, but there are some really, really big updates coming to our space management portfolio and platform. Really encourage folks to check that out. So stay tuned for that. Again, you'll see dates, all that posted on Product Hub as well. For those who have registered, you'll also receive emails about this too to register. But this will be an exciting session.